Hello, my name is Peregrine, and today I'm going to be going through the story of Ashe and Bob. With the recent release of Crossroads by Lindsay Eli and the Deadlock Rebels attack on Watchpoint Grand Mesa, my interest and everyone else's interest in Ashe has notably increased, to which I discovered how incredibly interesting this character really is, primarily through the work of Lindsay, who I cannot praise enough for her work on developing Ashe as a character and the story of the game in general. As we all know from Ashe's reveal trailer, she was an incredibly privileged child, who grew up in extreme wealth as the heiress to Arbalest Arms manufacturing company. However, no amount of money can make up for the lack of parental love in a developing child's mind, causing Ashe to have many bouts of delinquency in her youth and, let's face it, in her adulthood. However, what we didn't get from the trailer is the true extent of her loneliness. As members of the Epstein class, the elite class, her parents were constantly away from home, refusing to take their daughter with them, leaving her with their robot butler Bob, blissfully unaware that Ashe was beginning to see Bob as a real father, and even more less aware that the recorded memories of Bob were going to be gathered as a robot to become true, genuine memories when he becomes an Omnic after Aurora's transcendence. You see, when making food she didn't like, Ashe ordered Bob to leave her alone. This happened around the same time the Omnic crisis began, so Bob actually just left and went into the war. Judging by his size and capabilities, I'm assuming Bob did some probably heinous shit, but after the transcendence of Aurora and being given true sentience, Bob disobeyed Ashe's order to go away and returned back to the manor to see his adopted daughter once more. This dynamic is not really touched upon in the game, as Ashe maintains an incredibly tough exterior as the leader of a notable gang, but to me it seems pretty abundantly clear that these two share a father-daughter bond much more than a servant and his owner. More than friends and more than even found family, I would consider them genuine family, after her blatant abandonment by her parents, since Bob has never left her side, even as a fugitive, and will walk into blatantly dangerous situations if it means saving Ashe, or any member of the Deadlock family. This includes at the end of the short story Luck of the Draw, where Bob attempted to sacrifice himself to protect Ashe from Null Sector, only for Ashe to rescue him back without his consent. Speaking of family, family truly is the word for the rebels. Like I said before, Ashe projects an incredibly tough-to-break shell, and an air of oppression and dominance, while in reality she is just a lonely little girl, getting the love that she didn't receive as a child through a gang of rebellious drifters. Although she presents like a kingpin with helpful grunts, she deeply cares about her members, as they're the only family she's ever truly had. This is evidence in the book Deadlock Rebels, when a character named Desba attempts to win and sell Bob in a competition against Ashe in exchange for hovercycles, to which Ashe had to be held back from killing the bastard. After Ashe and the gang saved Cassidy from being kidnapped, she officially created the Deadlock Rebels, stating, "We're a family, and like a real family, once you're in Deadlock, you're in it for life." This sentiment came back to bite her in the arse and made it hurt the most when Cass was captured again, because, I don't know, he's not very good at evading capture, by Overwatch, and agreed to join Blackwatch. And as we now learn in Crossroads, the most recent comic, it appears that Cassidy's sacrifice is the reason why the Deadlock Rebels were never imprisoned, seemingly making some kind of deal with Reyes. Meanwhile, Cassidy is whining about Ashe betraying him. He is informed by Ashe that the Rebels actually did attempt to rescue him, but couldn't manage to, and ultimately assumed that he joined Overwatch of his own free will. Both of them assuming the other betrayed them has left a lot of bad blood between them, which seems to be coming to somewhat of an end. Which has come with a bit of a shock to me, because just from the game interactions I thought Cass and Ashe were totally done with each other, but like she said, once you're in Deadlock you're in it for life. And they still seem to very much love each other regardless of whatever happened. Ashe is an interesting example of why it's important to be there for your children. There were several points in Ashe's life where her parents simply being there for her would have completely altered her life path, meaning there wouldn't be any Deadlock Rebels and the people that the gang have killed would still be alive. But it's also a good insight into how privilege isn't everything. To this day, it's still a common sentiment to disregard the feelings of those you perceive as more privileged than you. Regardless of privilege, humanity will always have the capability to have good, and as we see by her actions towards her gang, Ashe still has that kernel of good inside her despite being raised by scum-sucking parents, making her a complex and bad yet still likeable character. As for Bob, I mean, what a guy. I find it really sweet that after being given sentience and recognising the horrors of war, he decided the last time he was actually happy was raising Ashe, and his paternal instincts kicked in, and he moved back to the manor, He wanted to raise his beloved Ashe through adulthood and further beyond. He really does need to be more strict with her, I must confess, and tell her to knock it off causing gang wars and all that shit, but in fairness, he's probably being overly nice as an apology for leaving her completely alone for the 2 years during the most turbulent time in her life. These two are reminders that biological family is great and all, but adoptive parents are just as powerful in people's lives. Adoptive parents are still parents, and that true unconditional love knows no skill colour, no sex, no relation, no religion, and no elements of skin. Skin or tin, Bob will always be there for her, like all dads should be, and in return, Ashe will do the same. That's what love is, that's what love means, even if they are robbing trains and murdering people. As for what the future holds for these characters, I'm unsure. They're obviously working with Talon at the moment, which is a big no-no. However, after being attacked by Null Sector and almost killing Bob, I doubt the Deadlock rebels will want to stay aligned with Talon if they do have an alliance with Null Sector in the future like I predict. The main issue with Ashe is that she's in a similar position in the Junkers where the rebels just aren't relevant to the story. They're like C-tier organisation in terms of relevancy. In my opinion, I think that Ashe is primed for a redemption arc of sorts, or at least I would like to see her have some sort of alliance with Cass so the family can be back together again. Who knows, maybe Cassidy will defect back to Deadlock? I mean, it's unlikely, but it'd be incredibly interesting to see Overwatch lose their sharpshooter, and from Crossroads it's very clear that he's having issues with his time in Overwatch. But then again, he's also become a bit of a goody two-shoes in his time in Blackwatch, like when he was crying about Reyes correctly murking Antonio, but who knows. I don't know what's going on inside that cowboy's brain, but, you know, whatever gets me more Ashe screen time is a win in my books. But before I go, I will mention one last time that this video is only possible thanks to the work of Lindsay Eli. Her work on Ashe is only rivaled by Christy Golden's work on Symmetra, and I wish these two were utilised more, and just these writers in general were utilised more in the character development process. We wouldn't have the disasters that we do today if Team 4 took more time with these writers to flesh out the characters before they were released. But regardless for that, thank you for watching, and bye bye.